You know the parable of the wolves, right? That famous old story, which is attributed to Native American tradition, I think Cherokee. And the parable says there was a wise old chief who was talking to his grandson. And the wise old chief said, "There is a battle going on inside of me between two wolves. And there is a dark wolf and there is a light wolf. And the dark wolf is full of avarice and hate and anger and jealousy and judgment. And the light wolf is full of love and peace and generosity and compassion and empathy. And, my grandson, the same battle is going on within you." And the grandson considers this, and he looks up at his grandfather and says, "Grandfather, which wolf will win?" And the grandfather says, "The one that you feed." There's another way to put it. Maybe you've heard this before. It's a simple saying. It says, "Energy flows where attention goes." You heard that one before? Energy flows where attention goes. In other words, your essence, your soul, your spirit, your energy follows what you choose to focus on. And I suppose this becomes part 2 of last week's episode titled Dopamine Slot Machine, which is my second favorite title that I've ever had for a podcast episode. Dopamine Slot Machine. My favorite is still Devil Horns for Africa, which was the episode I did about the heavy metal charity song Stars that they did back in the 80s to boost famine relief in Africa. I digress. Energy flows where your attention goes. And I think about that a lot these days in the context of last week's episode, where I confessed to being trapped down a social media doom scrolling rabbit hole on a Monday morning, and how toxic that was and how indicative that was of a persistent addiction that a lot of us feel to our phones and to social media. And I know a lot of us feel that because I got the feedback on the episode to prove it. I had people come out and raising their hand and saying, me too. And we know that so many of us are addicted to this stuff. And I've been thinking over the past much longer than week, but specifically over the past week, about cynicism and how easy it is in modern times to become cynical. You do not have to look far. And that is not entirely a political question, although that's the easiest place to find it because the politics are in our face every day, especially if you spend so much of your time on social media, on the internet, wherever. It's everywhere. You can't avoid it. And you click on one thing and the algorithm jumps all over it, especially if you click on something that's rage baity and controversial and violent and gets a lot of people yelling. And then all of a sudden you just get a flows into your feed of whatever is connected to that because they want to push it, as I talked about on last week's episode. But it's not just politics. It's mostly politics because politics is so present. I can't remember a time in my life when politics was so damn present. But it's everywhere. It's the price of things. It's the Jimmy Kimmel thing, which is political. Okay, we can acknowledge that that's a political thing. But the cynicism of it. Now, we're finding out today that Kimmel's getting his show back just days after he lost it, presumably because Disney lost billions on people canceling their subscriptions in protest. And then you become cynical. Oh, well, okay. Obviously, there's no principle at work here, apart from we're losing shareholder money, so let's try and fix it. And you look at the cost of rent, where in my province, rent controls seem to have been eliminated, and so the price of rent is insane. And you just become cynical looking at that. It's like everything is for sale. Everything is for profit. There doesn't seem to be much principle anymore. You can't really trust or believe anything. Now we've got autism being the result of Tylenol usage, and don't get me started on that. And I struggle. Okay, I struggle a lot. Increasingly, I struggle a lot with cynicism and with just being tired. Just being flat out tired of all of the chaos, tired of all of the lunacy. And when you surround yourself, when you immerse yourself, when you allow your energy to flow into an attention that is covering or paying attention to toxic stories, cynical stuff that makes you frustrated and angry and upset, your energy goes there too. And that is toxic to your energy, man. But the opposite is also true, where if you focus your attention rather, on things that are positive, uplifting, peaceful, encouraging, your energy can flow into that too. And that is feeding the light wolf. And so you find yourself in this position right now. I find myself in a position right now, particularly in the area of politics, which we both know by now I do not like to talk about on this program, because Lord knows you get enough of it everywhere frigging else you go. And it's difficult to be a person alive in the world and not in some way to have this in your face, because it's friggin' everywhere. Even if you take steps to mitigate your exposure to this stuff, and I'm not taking still the sort of steps I need to, it's still going to be in your face in some way or another. It's a throwaway Facebook post. It's a conversation you have with somebody who's paying attention to this stuff. You can't fully 100% escape it, nor should you fully 100% escape it, because as I've said, it's important to be informed. It is important to be aware of what is going on. The fine line is what's aware and what is having your life affected by it. And my life is affected by it. Okay, I see headlines every day that cause a sick feeling in me. I mean, there are times when I think about what's going on politically and I project into the future and I just get a sick feeling. And I say to myself, dude, why, therefore, are you going onto social media sites where you know damn well you're going to be exposed to this stuff and you are going to internalize that sick feeling? Why do you do it? And that, again, is the dopamine addiction. That, again, is last week's episode. I'm in this position where I could feed the dark wolf. Okay? I could feed cynicism. I could feed judgment. I could feed disdain. I could feed all sorts of dissociation. I could feed a lot of dark things, which would isolate and alienate me and make me more and more and more bitter, more and more anxious, more and more cynical, more and more toxic. And that makes your world very small. Or you can feed the light wolf. And it is difficult. It is so difficult right now to feed the light wolf unless you are an advanced person. I mean, advanced in maturity. I mean, advanced in spirituality. It's very, very difficult to escape the darkness right now because it is pervasive and everywhere, and the algorithms are feeding it to you. But I realized this past weekend that there are light wolves to feed. All right, there is nourishment for the light wolf if you look for it. And not surprisingly, it ties to me for a gig. It ties to me for a gig, and that is why it's important for you as much as possible to immerse yourself in the things that fuel you, to immerse yourself in the things that are passions for you. I'm wary of the word passion. I think the word passion puts a lot of pressure on people. I'm not going to go into that right now. And it's overused, frankly. Follow your passion, all that stuff. I think it's very confusing for a lot of people who don't even know what their passion is. And then they get caught up in this sort of whirlwind. It adds a lot of pressure. It's like, let's just back off that. But it's a useful word for us in this context. It's important to immerse yourself in the things that bring you a sense of joy, a sense of connection, a sense of working for something positive, a sense of community, if that's something that fuels you, or a sense of isolation, if that's something that fuels you. But I'm walking around, especially in the past week, still kind of berating myself for being sucked down that social media rabbit hole and really getting caught up in the negative news because there's so much of it and it's infuriating for those of us who have principles. Really, really tough and really, really tough to disconnect myself from that. And one of the ways in which you do disconnect from that is to immerse yourself in the things that bring you joy, fulfillment, purpose, passion. And so last Saturday night, the Carly Band is playing a gig in L-Town. Oh, happy day. We haven't played a lot in the past few weeks. We haven't played at all in the past few weeks. We had a pretty busy summer, played some really good gigs. And I'm just really, the core of this band in its various iterations has been around for a decade and longer than a decade, actually. We have deep musical connections. We have deep personal connections. And that's a really great thing for a band. You can really learn to rely on and trust each other, but it takes time to do that. And we got 10 years. We got 10 years of history with us all. And it's like a family, Bands really do become that at a certain point. We haven't played for a while, and we didn't get really a chance to rehearse for this gig because people are busy or people are away. Carly was in California. It was nice to see everyone as a starting point, as a basic community thing, as a connection thing. It was just nice to be in the same room with Ken the Zen and Chris McCready and Pat Dryberg, Carly, of course, as a starting point. We're playing the Palisade in L-Town, okay? Those of you who are not L-Town people won't know what that is. It's a bowling alley, fundamentally, but they have also built a venue into it. It used to be a wild place to play. A few years ago, they used to set up the stage on top of the bowling lanes. So you're playing, and people are bowling at you. Weird, right? And the pins were right underneath where the drum riser sat. And so you're playing and you think you're doing fine. And then all of a sudden there's just a chaos happening beneath you. A lot of rhythm. When bowling pins fall over, it can really screw up your time, man. And it's like a violent thing. You feel this thing happening underneath you. You think the riser's collapsing. Really, really weird. They don't do that anymore, okay? They opened up a spot beside the bowling lanes and they built a really big, nice stage there. And that's my point. I like a really big, nice stage, okay? One of the things being a drummer that you have to pay very close attention to is the volume at which you're playing. I'm not a stadium drummer yet. I'm not an arena drummer yet, which means I play a lot of rooms that are small and I have to be very careful about my volume, okay? And that means sometimes you use special sticks or for the most part, you just got to play more quietly, which is a skill unto itself. That's a difficult thing to do in certain contexts, but drums are drums, all right? They have the ability to utterly overpower a stage, utterly overpower the volume of the other instruments in a small room, and people don't like that. People do not enjoy a very loud drum set smashing into their face, which means you got to pull back, which means you've got to play more quietly. And that's cool, and there's a certain feeling of accomplishment that comes with being able to do that. Sometimes you want to play the friggin' drums, man, and in order to do that, usually you need a big, loud stage in a big, loud room, and that's what we were doing. We were playing a big, loud stage in a big, loud room. And I like that. All right. Some people in their monitor mix, most of my listeners are musicians. They understand the language I'm speaking here. For those of you who aren't, when you're on stage playing a gig in a perfect world, you've got a monitor through which the instruments on the stage are being broadcast to you so you can hear what's going on. Traditionally, that is a good old-fashioned wedge, and you'll see them on the stage. Those speakers that are pointing up at the singer, pointing up at the guitar players. You can't usually see the drum monitor depending on the stage, but it's a big old speaker, and it's blasting the stage sound at the individual performers so they can hear what's going on. Otherwise, you can't hear squat. Picture me behind a drum set, wailing away on snares and cymbals. How much do you think I could hear in front of me if nobody was broadcasting the show at me that I could hear? It would not be good, and I've had that happen. I've had it happen before where we do a sound check, get the monitors dialed in, everything's good to go, and then we start playing the gig, and it was actually a Carly gig where Carly and the great Pat Dryberg started playing the opening song, which is just guitars, and I have to come in, bass and drums at some point. Can't hear anything. I can see Carly and Pat playing. Nobody had flipped on our monitors when it was go time. And the bass player and I are flailing our arms at the back like, can't hear, folks. Can't hear anything. Now, I've played shows where I didn't have a monitor. That was a big outdoor show. Like all of the sound is going forward off the stage. All right, it's not coming back to where I am. In a small room, you can get away with no monitor. I've had to do it many times. It's annoying. It's struggle because you've really got to listen to hear what's happening. Usually you've got a monitor, and I like my monitor loud. Now, a lot of times these days, people wear or use what are called in-ear monitors. Right? That's when you see them with the earpieces in their ears. They're attached to a little pack, usually hanging around their back, which remotes and picks up a signal. And so they get their monitor mix instead of a big wedge on the ground right into their ears like headphones. And I'm going to get there. I just haven't yet. Not the point. Point is, I like a loud stage. Okay, I want my monitor blaring at me, and a lot of drummers don't. Some drummers want the monitor output very quiet, and others want certain instruments in their monitor, and others want certain other instruments, whatever. I like everybody in my monitor loud. I like a loud stage. I want to be surrounded by sound, and I want to be able to hit hard. Now, I'm not a particularly hard-hitting drummer. I'm not an animal. I don't play that kind of music for the most part. I play mostly Americana, alt-country folk, all right? There's not really a lot of call for me to be flailing away like I did when I was playing in rock bands. But I still want to be able to hit like I mean it. And I struggle to really find my way into the music if I have to pull back and play quietly. There are ways to do it, but sometimes you just want to rip, man. Sometimes you just want to dig in and hit and really throw yourself emotionally into the music. And as a drummer, typically that's when you get to hit hard and play loud. Such was the stage on Saturday night. And so I find myself on stage amongst people I love, people I've known for a long time, people who are my friends, people with whom I have had incredible adventures over the years. Ken Zen is the bass player. We've toured all over Europe together several times. We have played through the States together. We played across Canada together. I've toured across Canada with Carly. Pat has played with us all over the place. It's like I have a deep musical connection and history with these people, and that connection is balm. It's the balm, and it's a balm, B-A-L-M. You know, if you are isolated and just filling your head with the toxicity of the negative and divisive and controversial news out there, you can't escape that toxic reality. I was about to say that fake reality. It's not fake. It's very, very real, but it's not all consuming. what can happen is that you immerse yourself in this negative world, and the dark news, the dark wolf, consumes you. And you begin to think everything is that, and that's all there is in the world. And it's not true. You need to be out into what I was calling real reality, where you escape from this would seem to be omnipresent darkness. You find yourself on stage, a loud stage with a good monitor mix, playing music you love with people you love, and it's hard not to feel a surge of joy inside. And I have found joy difficult to come across. We don't need to go over my past year, okay? 11 months, I think. 12, 13 months now. It's been hard that whole time to find joy, okay? I've been skating along, just trying to stay above the ice, and not fall through. Joy has been difficult to find, but the few times when I have found it, I think have all been on stage somewhere. And that is the real me. Like, that is my inner drive. My heart, kids, is in performing on stage, especially when you get a big stage and a big sound. And so it was. And so I'm on stage feeling this antidote to the darkness. Not the band The Darkness. They were also an antidote to the darkness. Just feeling like, oh, wait a minute. There's this surge in my soul that still exists, and there's a surge in the world that still exists. But you gotta plug yourself into it. You cannot plug yourself into it if you're doom scrolling dark news and isolating yourself. You plug yourself into the darkness that way, but there's also a surge of light. There is a corresponding yin and yang surge of light that exists in the world, and the way to access that is to access your passions. Whatever they happen to be. Even if that's just going out with your friends on Friday night, that's where the surge of light is. And you plug yourself into that surge of light. And so Saturday night, I'm on stage with the band, and I'm like, oh yeah. Remember the part where there is joy in the world? Remember the part where there is a community and there are things that actually move you? And then at a certain point, somebody says to us, well, two things. A, it was not just people on stage. I had several friends in the audience, and God bless them. All right, Rosie and Jay and Ralph and Don and Daryl. I don't know if any of you guys are listening to my program these days, but God love you. Thanks for coming to the show. And there were other people who are fans of Carly's and friends of Carly's and whatever. The little community. And you realize, despite all of the toxicity, right? And the amount of attention that seems to go to toxic people is disproportionate. The reality is most of the people are good, and a lot of them are in your life. And so I was able to be on stage and see those people I love, and then look out into the audience and see those people that I love. And you realize there is something there to be plugged into. But at a certain point we're playing, and somebody says to us, hey, there's a wedding party here. What? Some people got married and they're at the bowling alley? Cool. And so, happy wedding to whoever you are, wherever you are out there. It's fine. But not too long later, all of a sudden, the dance floor is full of wedding people. Well, there's a bride and a groom and a wedding party and guests, and they're out there on the dance floor. And so we had individually worked up the Taylor Swift song, Love Story. That's an old Taylor song. Carly wanted to play it. Again, we didn't rehearse for this gig, so we never actually did play it together. We were just sort of trusted on our own to learn this thing, and we did our best. All of a sudden, there's a wedding party on the floor. And we're like, okay, we got something for you. And so we played the Taylor Swift song Love Story. And these kids, and I do say kids, I'm old enough that I can call people that now. These kids knew it. I mean, I'm not a Taylor Swift person. I don't know who knows what. I've never, ever, whatever that is. I know that one. These kids all knew that song. And so we start playing it. They picked up on what we were playing and they were going off. Bride and groom are jumping up and down. Everybody's singing at the top of their lungs. It was this really wonderful moment that happens sometimes at a gig. We've had this sort of thing happen before. I've played more than one gig where all of a sudden, like a bachelorette party came into the bar and things went off. I believe there was a Carly gig in Kingston, Ontario, of all places, where we were playing some club. This is years ago, probably 10 years ago. And it was a pretty slow night. And then all of a sudden, there was not a bridal party, but like a bachelorette party, I think, came in. And I don't know how many, like 20 girls, 20 women. And they just went off. And it was like, this is great. I recall a Hearts gig, Sarnia, I want to say, and a similar situation, and maybe even a stripper pole. Some crazy stuff happens, man. I mean, some crazy stuff happens when you're just out there playing little rooms around, you know? And it was one of those things, and it was this heartwarming thing. You could look at it objectively. Like, these kids got married. God love you. That's a beautiful moment for them. And then they're with all their friends, and they're at a bowling alley after their wedding, and they're jumping up and down singing Taylor Swift at the top of their lungs. And I'm a part of that in a powerful way. I'm the drummer who's playing the song. And it was just a really edifying moment. And we had a really good show. The band played really well. And I got to have the experience again of just playing a loud stage. And we do a cover of a cover, right? We do the Holly McNarland. We do our version of Holly McNarland's version of In the Air Tonight, which gives me the opportunity, by the way, to play the most iconic drum fill of all time. You know the one I mean. And it's the way we do it is moody, and then at a certain point it just slams in, and there's a big guitar solo. It's loud, and I'm wailing. I'm playing as hard as I play, you know? I'm swinging, I'm playing hard, everybody's digging it. It's like these are transcendent moments. These are moments that fuel me, right? These are the moments where that certain thing inside of me that is called to that and is passionate about that kicks in and picks up and emerges through me. And that is probably my true and highest expression. The truest and highest expression of my particular energy. You know, my energy that has been flat, my energy that has been trampled upon by the circumstances of life and by the circumstances of the world beyond me. If I focus my attention in the wrong way, you know, that energy lies dormant. That energy loses its potency. But then you're on stage playing the raucous part of In the Air Tonight with people going off, and you're hitting hard, and you're like, this is me. You know, this is the true expression of my energy, one of them at least. And you're reminded, this exists, this thing you can plug into, this surge of positive energy and passion and love. It is fundamentally love. Still exists to be plugged into, right? So I'm having this moment where I know I'm playing that song well. It's an interesting groove, acrostic groove on the drums that I borrowed from whoever recorded with Holly McNarland. And it's neat, and I like it. And it's moody. It's moody as hell. And then it just explodes into the outro of the song. Love that. And I remember thinking that I just loved this. And we played the whole show. And we got off the stage knowing we had done well. Not perfect, but we had done well. All right. And we had, I think all of us, I don't want to speak for the rest of the band, but I can sense it, kind of a release. Life is weird for everybody right now. And we had a release doing that thing that fuels all of us. And as I was leaving the stage, remembering what I've said in the past about how you can set intentions for your day, how you can set intentions for your life, and you can speak to whatever it is that makes all of this go around, whatever the consciousness is that holds the universe together. We're exiting the stage, and I just whispered, more of this, please. That's all. Just more of this, please. More of this energy. And that can come from gigs. That can come from other things that spark that feeling of connection, that surge of positivity in me. More of this, please. And so I say to you, whatever it is that fuels you, and you find yourself doing a thing, and that can be something so simple. You might be alone in your room, just reading a book that moves you, if you're one of those people. And maybe you're weeping, maybe whatever it is, emotion has been pulled out of you and connected. And even a sad emotion plugs you into that lightness. I really believe that because an emotional expression is natural and healthy and human. One of the things about the division in the world right now is that the game is to dehumanize the other side, right? It pulls out the worst emotions in you. But a good heartfelt sadness is also a human emotion. You might be reading a book. The point being, you might be reading a book and feel a surge of whatever it is that is moved in you by that book. You might close it and just say, more of this, please. More of this emotional connection. More books that I love. More TV shows that I love. More music that I love. More wins for my business. More dates with that person. More whatever it is. Whatever it is that moves you. Happens to be music for me. Music and pickleball. Saturday was the gig, and I left that stage feeling, tired and smiling. Next morning, I was up bright and early for pickleball. All right, my Sunday pickleball group is a wonderful group of people that I'm just getting to know. All right, pickleball has been a savior for me over the past year or so. Now, I've been playing pickleball for, 3.5, maybe close to 4 years. But over the past year, I've dedicated myself to it. It has become a real thing for me. To the extent where I'm scheduled, I think, to be on the court 4 times this week. Why? Because I need to put my attention to something that's positive, even though pickleball drives me crazy at times. As a newly single person, there are addictions as a means of coping that single people get into. Some are better than others. I have seen recently separated people choose to pour their energy and attention into alcohol, into drugs, into hookups, into gambling, into stuff that does not lead to good places, man. And so I made the choice over a year ago now when this happened that I'm going to put my energy into better stuff than that. Single guy addiction, whatever it is that gets you through the time, whatever it is that distracts you from the reality of the situation that hurts, try to pick something positive and let that carry you through. I wound up choosing pickleball. Now, I recognized that I needed a community. All right, my spouse and I had a mutual community. And I'm fortunate to be able to say it's an amicable split. And so I still have a lot of that community, but it's different now. It just is different now. And I've needed a new community in some ways. And I have found that in pickleball. And I'll tell you a secret, kids. One of the ways in which that good thing happened is that I put myself out there. So I started showing up at drop-ins. All right, playing against people I don't know. Ultimately testing myself against some good players and having a really good time. And then I've shown up recently by myself. I'm doing life by myself at drill sessions. And I've shown up by myself at other drop-ins. I have put myself into, it's taken friggin' courage. I know it's just pickleball, but it still does. To put yourself into a situation like that with strangers. Difficult for anybody, and I am an introvert, all right? I know I come off as though I'm a social butterfly, and I've had quite a lot of practice being looked at as a performer. But I'm an introvert, all right? I'm shy, and it's difficult to put yourself into a space with new people. But I've been making a point of that with pickleball, and there have been many blessings by association. One of which is I've realized I'm pretty good at pickleball. I'm not great at pickleball, but I'm pretty good. I can hang. That's sort of an encouraging thing. That's a confidence building thing. And it's a great thing to be into, by the way, as I get older, something that's active, something that focuses on kind of explosive movement, hand-eye coordination. This is all useful stuff as the body gets older. Now, I'm still moving like a 22-year-old out there. Do not be under any disillusion about that. Cat-like. And it's going to keep me that way, hopefully, for a long time. But it's also given me new communities, which is what I needed. Even as an introvert, you need community. You need people. And I recognized as a separated person that I needed new community. And so pickleball has given me that. I've met loads of wonderful people. They are becoming my friends. They are people that I play the game with, people who are now part of my tribe, And Sunday morning was that. That's why I've just come off this high of playing a really good show, a really loud show, music I love, with people I love, for people I love, and realizing there is a stream of light you can plug yourself into if you get away from all of the toxic BS on social media. Plug yourself into this light stream that still exists, and you can be uplifted and edified and encouraged by that. Sunday morning, I got the pickleball. And then here's all of these people who are becoming my tribe. And this game that I love to play. And the competition is intense but friendly. It's a really friendly community playing this game together. And it's like, oh yeah, here's another slice of real reality, right? You can get up and you can doom scroll deep into this horrendous dark rabbit hole of stuff you can't control, stuff that drives you crazy, stuff that offends your principles, stuff that makes you anxious and worried about the future, and you surround yourself with the friggin' darkness, and that's what you plug yourself into, and that's what you get. That's what surges into you. Or you can be at pickleball on Sunday morning amongst beautiful people, playing a game you love, enjoying yourself, feeling community and camaraderie. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. What you focus on becomes your reality, where energy flows, where attention goes. And so are you putting your attention on the things that drive you crazy and make you angry? And if you are, why? I say that seriously. You're getting something from that. I get it, because there's a dopamine surge in rage, right? Is that why you persistently plug into that dark thing? Do you get some edification from judging other people? Does the anger do something for you in this weird, toxic way? It does. I felt it. I know exactly what that is. Feels good in the moment, corrodes you from the inside out. I quite literally feel sick a lot of the time when I allow myself to think about a lot of what's going on. There is a sick, pit of the stomach dread about the future, about, as they said in Terminator, one possible future. And yeah, you've got to be aware of that. But the more you give yourself to that, the more you plug into that dark wave, the more it corrodes you from the inside out. And so you've got a choice. All right. Energy flows where attention goes. So where are you putting your attention? I'm trying to put my attention back on the drums. I've really struggled. Now, this is my true confession. Over the past year, I've really struggled to want to play the drums, even though I've enjoyed playing live, but beyond live, I've really struggled with the energy. And working full time, it becomes a time thing, but time thing, energy thing, wondering what is the friggin' point, And I need to find ways to plug back into the joy of that. It's easy to feel like, what's the point? Especially as you take a look at what's in the headlines these days. Just anger, just rage, just this sense of overwhelming powerlessness that a lot of people feel. I feel that too. And powerlessness is a horrendous place to be. That's a horrendous feeling to feel. Powerless is awful, but the power comes when you plug into that light surge. You plug into your people, when you plug into what brings you joy, what brings you fulfillment, what brings you energy, and you focus in on how good that is. And then you focus in on how good that can be. You know, energy flows where attention goes. And so I'm reminded of that, playing a gig and then playing Taylor Swift for a wedding party. And how happy those people were. You know, those people, those kids cared not for the future of democracy, at least in that moment. They were embarking on the most optimistic of lives. You and me, baby. There ain't nothing wrong with us. You got to respect that. You got to respect the blind optimism of those kids getting married and their friends surrounding them. And you being a part of that just for a minute. You realize there's goodness. There is still goodness. And you can plug yourself into the light as opposed to letting the darkness drown you. And I think that's it for this week. Just a simple encouragement to find whatever it is that's light for you. Those things that bring you joy, fulfillment, happiness. Plug into those. Remember that there is still goodness and there's stuff that can just make you feel happy. And you don't have to surrender to the darkness because it's still only half. Darkness, as King's X wrote, darkness is just a speck in the light. I think that's it. I think that's it for this week. Thank you ever so much for listening. Thanks for the commiseration and the feedback on last week's episode. Do appreciate that. Hey, my birthday is this week. This will be released on Wednesday, which means my birthday is tomorrow for all of you listening. If you're searching for any last-minute gift ideas for me, ratings and reviews on Apple are most appreciated. Would warm my cockles on my friggin' birthday, kids. I will remind you that good things happen when you put yourself out there. So if you are isolated, if you are feeling unfulfilled, if you're feeling frightened, put yourself out there in whatever area seems most forbidden to you. Go put yourself out there. Good things happen. Plug yourself into the light. Feed the light wolf, kids. And together, hopefully, we can make it all okay. That's the cheesiest damn thing I've probably ever said on this show. All I'm really saying is hang on. If you're struggling, plug yourself into what makes you happy, what brings you joy. I'm going to shut up shutting up. Thank you ever so much. I'll talk to you in a week.